Hi, this is Pastor John David, and this study we're going to be talking about how Jesus transformed the world. What was the process? And we're going to go to the next step. The first study we talked about that Jesus went to a place and he started just blessing people there. He started loving people there, showing them the love of God through specific actions, deeds. He would obviously share the good news with people, but we kind of gave an acronym on how to do that, and we said it was bless, B-L-E-S-S. B is begin in prayer. Jesus prayed before he did anything. L is listen. He listened to people. He found out where they were at. E is eat. They spent a lot of time eating together. There's lots of places in the scriptures where they ate together. S is serve. B-L-E-S is serve. And then S, the other S is share. Share your story. Your story of what God is doing in your life, or God's story, the gospel. There's different stories that you can share with people to let them know the good news about Jesus. And so Jesus would go to a place and he would just begin to bless everybody there. He would begin to share and love and care and serve and eat and pray, and he would do all this in an area. And so if we were to be dropped into some neighborhood that there was no church, and you were to live there, how would you start one? Well, you would start by blessing everybody there. And then what you do, and this is the next step that this week we're going to talk about, or this study we're going to talk about, and that's the idea of selection. That Jesus chose certain people to be with him so that he could train them, so he could prepare them, so he could, well, we're going to use the term disciple them. And so how do you select the right person? How do you select somebody? There's some qualities that you want to find, that you want to look for. You want to look for somebody like Jesus would basically look for people who wanted to learn, people who were hungry. And so in Luke 6:13 it says he chose from them 12. And so there's that idea of looking at the crowd of people that he was caring for and serving and sharing. He chose 12 of them to bless, more specifically to disciple, to spend time with them, to train them. And so the first step in that process, after you've blessed somebody, is to select them. Select the people who were teachable. Select people who were willing to learn. We used to have a thing called FAT. Select fat people, F-A-T, faithful, available, and teachable. Because if someone's faithful but they're not available, you can't work with them because they don't have time to work with you. If they're faithful and available but not teachable, they're not humble, they're not going to learn from you. So you need somebody who are faithful, available, and teachable. I don't know if that works for you or not. Some people might get offended at that. I hope not. We're not talking about overweight people. We're talking about faithful, available, teachable people. And so hopefully as you go out and share, and what we talked about, bless people in your circle of community, in the circle of people that you're working with, one or two are going to come and go, hey, you were talking about something the other day and I've thought about it, and tell me more about that, or I have some questions. And those are the people that you choose, you select to then take it to the next level, to begin to say, hey, let's hang out a little bit more. And we'll talk about what that next level is the next time. But he saw potential in the people that he was selecting. He saw in them a desire for more. They were hungry. And they had a sincere yearning for God. They had a sincere desire to follow God. And really, that's who you're looking for. If you select someone who's just, I'm proud and doesn't want to listen and doesn't want to learn, you're making a mistake, because what's going to happen is you're going to try to teach them. They don't want to learn, and they're not going to go very far, and they're going to drop out eventually, and they're going to leave. So as you start looking as people to select, to disciple, or to train, or to develop, or to help grow, you want to pick people that as you sow that seed in them, it's going to take root and it's going to grow. And so there's always that selection process going on. As you just bless everybody, people will rise up to the top and say, hey, this person really wants more. So let me spend some extra time with them. Jesus didn't neglect the masses. He didn't neglect serving large groups of people, but always out of the masses, he was always looking for that person that was looking back at him with more interest, with more desire. And I think that's what we should be doing. Be open to what God's doing as we do what we do to love people and to bless people and to serve people in our jobs, home, career. Someone is like excited, you say, hey, come on, let's have a cup of coffee. Let's follow this up. Let's take this to another level. And so, what happens with what's hard with this, though, is that sometimes we want to see quick results. We want to see a lot of people maybe come to church, or a lot of people get involved in what God's trying to do. And this is kind of a little bit slower. This is kind of a pause. But it's a good pause, because what happens is if you take the time to select good people in the beginning, it's going to pay off in the end, because those people are going to bear fruit. If you select the wrong people at the beginning, you're going to hurt yourself in the end, because people that are unteachable, or that are proud, or that are angry, or have issues that are very deep-seated that they don't want to deal with, they're going to cause all kinds of problems in your group, or your church, or your small group, or whatever. And so you want to make sure you select good people, even though the reality is Jesus selected 12 good people, and he even lost one of them. So just be ready for that reality. And not everyone that you select is going to follow through and become a great disciple. But that doesn't mean you're not selecting, and that doesn't mean you're not blessing. You go bless people, then you look for those who are showing a response, and then you say, hey, come on, let's do something a little bit deeper here. And so it was challenging, because this kind of work is hard. It's not easy. We want to work with hundreds of people, and this is like working with 3 or 4. And it seems slow at first, but when you get to the issue of multiplication, which we're going to be talking about later, then you'll see how this work is really, really powerful. Even though you're starting out with just a few, you're going to end up with a lot, because you're doing something that's multiplying. And that's a whole nother principle we're going to talk about later. So the pattern of Jesus teaches that the first duty of a church's leadership is to see that you build a foundation in the beginning, which can be built an effective and continuing ministry to the multitudes later. So once again, you're picking those good people on the front end, so that on the back end you've got good things happening. You're not just trying to get a whole bunch of people at the beginning. You're picking a few good people. And so the question I have just for you is, who are the people around you, first of all, that you're blessing, that you are praying for, that you're eating with, that you're listening to, that you're sharing your story, that you're serving them, you're serving with them? Who are those people? Who are the people around your life that you see regularly? It could be waiters at a restaurant, it could be people at a supermarket. And how can you even gauge to see if they're interested in something deeper? We have to be listening. We have to be alert and attentive to what's going on. Maybe there's a spiritual kind of spiritual cues that people will give you, like, hey, I saw you praying the other day. What's that about? I don't know. But be listening to see what people are doing and how they're reacting to you and your life and your faith, and then see how they react when you serve them. And those who have that glimmer in their eye, they're like, ooh, I want more, I'm interested. Follow that up. Begin to the process of selecting some good people that you can begin to pour your life into. And so next session, we're going to talk about what that looks like in the next step in the process. So let's go back and review real quick. You begin blessing everybody in your area, wherever you are. We dropped you in the middle of New York. You're going to start a brand new church. Just start blessing people all around you in your normal life, in your normal. You don't have to even change what you're doing. Just do what you're doing, but do it intentionally with the idea of blessing people, praying for them, eating with them, listening to them, serving them, and sharing the good news with them, and sharing your story and God's story. And then select. Look for the people that are showing interest. and select a few people to be the ones that you're going to pour into. And then that's next session. What do you do after that? You associate with them, and we'll talk about that next time. All right, thank you. Have a good one. I hope as you begin to do all these things, God begins to use you in a mighty way to change your world. Thank you. Bye-bye.